Everyone, welcome back. Today is the 3rd of April 2021 at about 11:30 a.m. So we're going to start our second lecture of the day, which is environmental impact assessment. So I can see a few faces here. I'm so happy. I can see Sambo, Amy, Aisha, Ezati, Elizabeth, Lim Jiamei, Lin, Nur Hasni, Siti Nur Aliza, and Nur Aino. But I can also understand, hi Aguila, that I can see other faces, other names. Hi Aguila, Yoga, Al Saadi, Sami, Du Hongbo, Kantan, which, and thank you so much for making the effort, Zuria, Ravin, and Wang Jing. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing the slides here. Let me know if you have any questions. Always just shout because I hardly can read the chatting. So I'm going to share my slides. If you can see it, can you please let me know? Can somebody confirm that he can see the slides?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, we can see.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you can see it, Doctor.
Yes, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, Doctor, you all can see your slides.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy. And I'm also very happy we respond. At the meantime, I can take my coffee. All right. So today the topic is environmental impact assessment. Okay. This is one of the toughest environmental issues that we are, this is one of the tools of solving a lot of environmental issues that we have in Malaysia. I'm not going to talk about the whole, we also have like broader perspective of environmental impact assessment because we have, all I can say is that, we have Kyoto Protocol, Montreal Protocol, and all the other protocol. And then the United Nations is going to make some guidelines on we sign treaties. But at the end of the day, we're going to come back to the country and bring back what we learned from the international organizations and actually implement that into our own country. So now because it's a sovereign country, basically Malaysia cannot enforce for Indonesia to do anything that we like. We cannot tell any other country that this is what you should do, but then we can tell our own country this is what we're going to do. So this is basically what Malaysia is doing to protect the environment. So one of the things that we have is environmental impact assessment. And we're going to go into detail about this. And at the meantime, if you have any issues at all, you can ask me. I'll be very, very happy to answer. We're going to learn it together. As you already know from the beginning that I am not actually a policymaker, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm also learning together with you all, and I hope we can share knowledge together and we can learn and grow together. So basically, okay, this is my introduction. I'm not going to talk about that. Before we start, I'm going to start with a question. Have you ever heard about environmental impact assessment? Can you say yes or no? And if you have any idea what it is.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. Okay.
No.
No. Okay. Who's that? No, because by one word I don't know who you are. Sorry.
Sami.
Okay, Sam. Okay. Yeah, actually, I would appreciate if you next time, if you shout at me, you introduce yourself first by saying like, Elizabeth, yes, Elizabeth, no, something like that. So at least I know who's talking. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. So Sam, environmental impact assessment in Malaysia is that actually what happened, which we're going to learn, but I'm just going to start with an overall idea. Before you start the project, basically a big project that's going to be giving impact towards the environment, you have to write an environmental impact assessment. It's basically telling the government or the approving authority what, explain to them what would be the impact of the project that you're proposing and what is the mitigation measures or steps or actions that you're going to take to actually avoid or to reduce, or maybe something that you have no choice but to do it, then that's the sacrifice that you're going to have to bear. Because in order for us to develop our country, of course, it's going to be impacting the environment, but as much as possible, we're going to try to reduce the impact. Because if you don't cut the trees, of course, it's going to, the forest is going to grow, everything is going to be very nice, we're going to have oxygen, but where are we going to build the houses? All right, so you understand that issue. So we cannot just say we cannot do this, we cannot do that, we cannot do anything. Just let the forest grow and let everything grow, but we need space. Okay?
Okay, I'm Sami. Thank you.
I Sami. Okay, so do you understand? Have you got the idea, Sami?
Yes, I get it. I get it.
Okay, good. So this is an example. So Pahang passed logging without ESCO and EIA knowledge. So basically, in this case, there is a logging. Logging is actually cutting the trees in the forest, and the permission to do the logging was passed without ESCO is like the, I can say here, the member of parliaments, and EIA knowledge without environmental impact assessment knowledge or maybe report. So I want to ask you guys, what do you think? But I'm gonna restructure the question. Okay, so if anybody in Malaysia passed a logging concession or without environmental impact assessment, discuss this, yeah, because I'm gonna ask the same questions at the end. I want to see your knowledge before and after the lecture. So don't worry, just answer the questions. This is just basically a survey. So what can be done by DOE? DOE is Department of Environment, which is the department who is actually taking care of the environment in Malaysia. And the second question is, what if the logging commenced after an approved EIA report by the DOE? What happened if the project is actually started after the environmental impact assessment is approved? And if the environmental impact assessment report is approved, that means there will be no significant impact towards the environment. Do you want to answer this question? I'm going to put this link into the chat box, and I hope you can fill the survey form. You don't have to tell me your name, but I want to see your knowledge for now before the lecture and see if it is going to change after the lecture. If you have any further question for now, can you ask me, especially if you don't understand the question, and then I can give you answers, and then you can answer this Google survey form. I'm going to copy now. I'm going to put into chat the link, and please fill the survey form. At the same time, I'm going to put the fan into my laptop because my laptop is actually boiling. It's going to burn out. All right. Can I give you guys 10 minutes to fill the survey question, please? This is just 5 minutes, I would say, because we don't really have much time. So I'm going to read your answer at 11:55. Thank you so much. I'm going to post recording for now. Sharing. Thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for filling the form. I'm going to share with you the results of the form. Okay, let's see. This is what you think. Okay, so this is the answer. I'm going to read it. Look. So you have, I don't know how many people. Okay, so we have 12 responses. Oh, never mind. Summary of the responses. Can you see my screen?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, thank you very much. So accept the project from EIA. Actually, what was the question? The question is, let me see the question first. What can be done by DOE? Accept the project from EIA. Okay, EIA is actually a report. Give approval to commence anything. To commence anything. Prosecute them in court. The DOE is supposed to monitor and supervise all the environmental permit which is issued by states and verify the EIA report. DOE is the department that monitors and makes sure environment is protected from any activities. Enforce the law. Okay. That was enacted. Study the environmental report of the project and approved. Actually, the question is the things is done without even EIA report. So I will look at accept the proposal. So this is not an answer. Number one. Number 2, give approval to comments because they haven't even write the EIA report. Prosecute them in the court. This can be an option. This one they are supposed to monitor. This is not answering the question. This is very important. Okay, I'm glad with this, because I don't know who you are. I hope you're not offended. We don't know who the person is anyway, because a lot of time, the students, it's quite common when I ask them, what do you have for breakfast this morning? And then the question is, tonight I'm going to go to watch the cinema. It's not answering the question. So the question is what can be done by EOE, but this is not answering. Be careful with this kind of answer in your exam, yeah? Okay. This again, the mode is the same. This one also is not, it's not answering the question. Enforced, so this is good. It might be right, but we're gonna learn about this afterwards. Study the report of the project and approve it within the controls. They haven't have any reports yet. In my opinion, we should post the project and have EIA knowledge. Okay, the question is, does DOE, Department of Environment, has the power to post the project, or is this the approving authority, which is the state government? This is a good idea. Tighten the rules and requirement of EIA report content, but they haven't read the EIA report yet. To enforce legal and legislation, this is good. To do the EIA report, okay, never mind. Okay, so we can't do anything because state government more powerful. I like this answer. Maybe can best give guidelines, survey and always update on people to obey EIA. Or DOE can stop the earthworks that have been worked. DOE also may issue. Can you hear somebody is calling me on WhatsApp? I'm gonna answer this. But I'm having a class now. I'm having a class until the afternoon. The whole yes. I'm giving a presentation. Okay, thanks. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Okay. DOE can stop the earthworks that have been worked. Can DOE stop the earthwork? We're gonna learn from the EIA. I really like your answer. Okay, so maybe the question was a bit confusing because maybe there is an EIA report, but it's okay. So sorry if I comment to your answer wrongly, but let's look at the second question. What if the logging comments after an approved EIA report by the DOE? They will start the project to be eco-friendly. The party will be sued. Only carry out logging that in the area that approved by DOE. The logging activities will have monitored and controlled impacts. The developer, okay, this is good. It must be followed. I like when somebody put EMP because that will be also another questions. We only teach EIA so far, but somebody is going advanced into EMP. I'm happy. Okay. Environmental impact report. Okay, can reduce environmental impact. Okay, just stop for a while and continues. I like that. That's very Malaysian. Okay, another question is, if the project has an approved EIA, that means that there will be no significant impact towards the environment. It will have some weakness and drawbacks, but the project should decrease the impact. I like the answer. No, at least the impact will be minimal. This is like, we cannot answer like this, because you said, the question is there any impact? You said no, but minimal. You said yes, but it will be minimal, like that, You cannot say like, are you going tomorrow? No, yes, I will go, but I will stay at home. So it's like contradicting each other. You understand what I mean? Yeah, be careful with this kind of answers. I'm glad, because in your exam, this is how you're losing marks, answering a question like this. Okay, every action from human is going to be impact to environment. Impact can be prevented if there is mitigation measure. I like this kind of answers. There still will be significant, but which appropriate control monitoring measures. Actually, I prefer this. I would answer like this, actually. This one, I really like this answer. Yes, activities to be monitored, comments, okay. No, okay, I'm glad with your answer. This is actually amazing. Okay, let's start with the class and see if your answer is going to be the same or change after we attend this class. Oh, I think there will be another question actually. but let's see, point. Let's just start it. You can ask me any questions, but I prefer if you shout because I'm on full screen and I'm not going to be able to answer to read the chatting. Okay, let's look at the. Okay. Okay, also there is another issue here. Do you know that David Attenborough is actually a very famous environmentalist in the entire world? He's very famous. He's a UK citizen, BBC. If you're talking about environmental issues or environmental narrations, he will be the person. But never mind. So what happened? What happened is that there is a plan to make a bridge in Borneo. It is actually not far from my hometown. And what happened is that if you make the bridge, it's gonna threaten the pygmy elephant, which is endemic to Borneo. If you look at this pygmy elephant, the construction of the bridge is gonna be affecting this pygmy elephant. So this guy, David Attenborough, was actually condemning, basically attacked. He disagreed with the project and he said, look, you're doing something wrong. You should not continue with the project. Okay, but in Malaysia, before you do a project, you're going to do an EIA report. So this is the question. Is it a wise thing to go into the press and attack a project, or are you given a proper channel to actually complain or to make proposal on the project? So this is why I have this kind of questions. So the question is, instead of, because you see a lot of environmentalists, they actually go into the press and condemn about a project. But remember, before we do a project, we're going to have an environmental impact assessment by the government. So instead of going to the press, based on EIA procedure, which you haven't learned yet, I'm just testing your knowledge before we start the lecture, because you're going to learn about it today. Based on the EIA procedure, describe how they can make suggestions or objections on the project based on the following points. Is the project subject to prescribed activity under EQA 1974? Based on the EIA order, why there is a very strong case or argument to protect the pygmy elephant? In which part of the EIA preparation that he can raise the concern, he can raise his concern or make his comments? What comments and recommendations can they make in the EIA report? Do you want to fill this survey form, or is it very difficult, or you want to finish the lecture first?
Yes, Doctor. Can.
You want to fill the form? Okay, that's amazing. Okay, I'm gonna send you the link, and I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to actually fill the form, and I'm gonna see your feedback. And bear in mind, I'm gonna ask these questions again at the end of the lecture to see if you actually learned anything from the lecture. So I'm gonna give you the link, and now how do I go to chat and see if you can actually fill the form? Let's see. Thank you so much. And I'm going to open the form and see live answer, but we don't know who the person is because I am not planning to make it personal. I just want to know the feedback as a whole. So we're going to share the feedback of the form live. Let's see. We haven't got any response yet, but we're moving that. I'm gonna show you the content. But please, I'm gonna show you live comment, yeah. So, but please don't follow. Don't just simply copy the feedback of the previous person, yeah. We're still waiting for response. I'm gonna post it by now so that we can post the recording and start. All right, thank you so much for the response. So let's read the answer of your response, yeah? Let's see. Okay, so the response is the project subject to prescribed activities under EQN 1974? Yes, yes, no, not B, no. Okay. I don't expect you to know what is prescribed activities, but but if you, so you're gonna find out in this lecture what we mean by prescribed activities, okay? Why is the EIA order 1987? Where is the very strong case to protect the pygmy elephant? Wow, somebody has done this. Actually, I'm not sure. Rare endangered species, yes. Life, because it's elephants. The question is why elephant? Why not tiger? Why not monkey? To avoid extinction, again, why not monkey? Why elephant? Pygmy elephant. And why not any other animal? Because it's going to be endangered. A nice answer. But how do you determine which one is endangered, which one is not? How do you know? Preserving biodiversity. So if that's what we're doing, are we not supposed to be cutting any trees at all? Is facing extinction? Where is your proof? And why is pygmy elephant? Always, you know, being a developer, like I would say, like, why do you think pygmy elephant is going to face extinction? What is your proof? Where is the list of endangered species? Things like that. So this is important to know because they can sell the task. Okay. Good point. In which part of the AI preparation that he can raise his concern? Conversion on logging of forest, public participation. Okay, this is actually a true answer. Thank you so much, which we're going to learn. But I'm glad to know that somebody has already know about it even before the classes. Impact assessment, sustainable environment review, and licensing, forestry, wildlife, the begging part at the first. Actually, the answer is public participation. That's very, very true. What comments and recommendations can they make into the EIA report? Environmental impact on the activities, elephant life is more important, not sure, more concerned, to reevaluate the impact on wildlife, enforce the law providing suitable space for animal. This is very, very good point. Actually, this is true. And really, this is also another good options which we're going to learn and reduce. This is also another things that we can learn from this lecture. Thank you so much for your input. It's brilliant, actually. I'm really, really happy. So I'm gonna start with the lecture from now on. I'm gonna stop sharing this one and I'm gonna share again the lecture notes. So thank you very much for your feedback. I really appreciate. So from your feedback, I now understand that some of you already know about the EIA. Some of you is actually still at the beginning stage, and some of you might have no clue at all. But that's okay because we're gonna learn this together. At any point, if you're tired or if you are not happy, again, you can just shout. You can ask me to stop if it's very tiring, or whatever that you need. Please let me know. Can you see the PowerPoint now, slides? Can I hear anything? Anybody who?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. 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 Thank you so much. Although I don't know your name, I just hear sound. So this was the question, and this is the lecture overview. I put this picture. This is actually from my expedition, and I like to go to the top of the hill and so what's beneath. If you look at that skua bird in Antarctica, he's actually looking down and looking at overview of the whole area before trying to attack the cheek of the penguin. And I was
Is that
like,
you, Doctor?
Yes, that was me.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons you should actually, being environmentalists, we're actually very lucky. We managed to travel everywhere. This was Antarctica. I went there with the British Antarctic Survey to do some expeditions in Antarctica. So that was nice. I like to walk, but it was lovely, but it was a very, very hard job. It's not easy. Like walking 9 hours a day and then break your leg, break your teeth, break your everything. But
How
it's
many
okay.
days, Doctor?
I went there in 2015 and come back in 2016.
Wow.
Technically, it's 1 year, but it's not that long. The whole expedition, you know, it was very long, but it was nice. Okay, so we're going to give you a general introduction about EIA. And remember that everything in this world is overlapping. So you're going to see overlapping things. So let's begin. So in Malaysia, we have Environmental Quality Act. So this is basically the act which is protecting the environment under the law. It's called Environmental Quality Act 1974, Act 127. So the environmental impact assessment is required under Section 34A EQA 1974. Actually, I can even just ask you guys to read this slides because I'm just going to read it. I wrote this, but never mind. So project initiator must submit an EIA report to the Director of General of the Environmental Quality for approval. So basically, in the Ministry of the Environment, there is a Director General, and then the EIA report has to be submitted to them before you start a project. And it's also legislated in Sabah and Sarawak under the respective state legislation. What it means that this law in Malaysia, we have Hakim Besar Malaya, which is the judge of Malaya and the judge of Borneo, Sabah and Sarawak, because Malaysia is actually divided into two parts, West Malaysia and East Malaysia. The law is not identical, it can slightly be different. But because this is the setup of the constitution of the formation of Malaysia in 1963. If you do not know about the history of Malaysia, especially for foreigners, we have things called the Malay, which is the major race in Malaysia. They are predominantly ethnic race of Malay. And we have Malaya. Malaya was actually from 1957 until 1963, which is the West Malaysia. And then the Malaysia was actually formed in 1963 when Sabah and Sarawak in the state of Borneo together with Singapore and joined Malaya and formed Malaysia. And Malaysians are actually all the Malaysian people who live in Malaysia, including the Malay, the Chinese, the Indian, and other ethnics. I don't know if it sounds complicated, but that's what it says, is that we sometimes have different laws in East Malaysia and West Malaysia. So what we're going to talk about today is only about the West Malaysia, formerly known as Malaya, or now is only this peninsula of Malaysia. If that makes sense, I hope it does. I think for Malaysians, there's no issues at all, but for non-Malaysians, maybe they're a bit confused. So EIA in Malaysia has been in place since 1998, but actually their law was 1974. I'm not going to talk more about the history, but I'm just going to talk about the law itself. Okay. So the purpose of EIA is environmental impact assessment is to identify, predict, evaluate, and communicate information about the impacts on the environment of a proposed project. And it's not and, yeah, sorry for my mistakes in spelling. And to detail out the mitigation measures prior to the project approval of implementation. So it's actually a planning tool, and the main aim of the report is to document the environmental impact assessment and project planning process to enable the approving authority to make decisions. So basically, in a short words, it says that it basically means that before you start the project, you're going to tell the approving authority, which can be the state government or any ministries or the federal government, that we're going to make a project. And once we do this project, this is going to be the impact towards the environment. And then they're going to decide whether, okay, let's do with the project, or let's carry on with the project, or no, the impact is adversely, it's too much, it's so adverse, and we cannot sacrifice that much, so we're not going to continue with the project. So the EIA report is actually a tool for the approving authority to actually decide at the end whether the project can be implemented or not. So that's why EIA report is very, very important. Okay, it is also a preventive process and to avoid costly mistakes in project planning, because then when you do EIA, you're going to predict what's going to happen if you do things, you know. So in all, this is actually, yeah, preventive tool, which is very good indeed. So it's a process rather than a one-off assessment event. It evaluates various project options. It's going to tell you, like, if you do, for instance, like this, it's going to impact, the impact is going to be like this. So in order to do this, maybe you reduce the size, the impact is going to be reduced. Or you change the location, like for the pygmy elephant just now, for instance, you know, if you want to make a bridge, it's going to be bringing, it's going to cut the time for locals or villages to cross the river. But then if you're going to do it at this area, it's going to be impacting the pygmy elephant, but maybe you can use different technology, or you can change the locations or things like that. So that's why EIA report is very important. So it's going to identify all possible environmental impact. It's going to formulate appropriate mitigation measures, and it's going to develop the monitoring program. Again, like I said just now, it actually enables the approving authority to make the appropriate decisions on either to carry on with the project, to stop the project, to carry on with the project with modifications, to reduce the size of the project, to change the timing of the project, to change the location of the project, and many other things. So that's why this report is very important. Does that make sense so far, guys? Is that clear?
Okay, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Ravin. Really appreciate that. Okay, so what is the roles of and responsibilities of different individuals in the EIA project, EIA report preparations? So we're going to have Department of Environment, which is the also known from now on, we're going to call them DOE. And we have project initiator. These are the people who wants to do the project. And we're going to have EIA consultant. These are experts on the environment who's going to prepare the EIA report. We're going to have the review panel. It's actually the people who's going to review the report to ensure that the report is true or not true, because people can just bluff, you do not know. But they're going to be a review panel who actually counter check the report to ensure its content and the quality of the content, whether it's okay or not okay. And also we have the environment related agencies, the public, and the approving authority, which is at the end the one who decide whether to carry on or not to carry on with the project. Okay, so everybody has different roles and responsibilities. We are going to go into detail of all of them. Department of Environment. So basically, the rules in the preparation of the EIA report of the DOE is actually to administer the process. So basically, they're the government, they are the one who's making the law, and they are going to tell you the process of making the report. And they are going to have the final say whether the report is approved or not approved. Remember, this is very important. Also, they are also responsible in administrative procedures such as formulating the guidelines and the documents and the regulating of EIA consultants. So before you can become an EIA consultant, you have to have the knowledge, you have to have, especially the knowledge of the field. So DOE is the one who actually confirmed that you do have the knowledge. For instance, if it is about water quality, then Elizabeth wants to do water quality, but then the DOE will tell like, oh, will look at her background and say, yes, she can become a consultant because she qualifies. She has the background knowledge. It cannot be just anyone. So DOE is the one who's deciding on this. Just like the report, the DOE is going to decide on whether the report is true or not true. The DOE have no rights to stop or to approve the project, but they have the rights to tell the consultant or the project initiator or the department, the approving authority, that the report that was provided is true. So imagine in this case, even though the report says that it's going to kill all the elephant, the DOE can tell like, yes, the report is true or not true. Yes, their function is just to check whether the report is true or not true. Then this report will then be presented to the approving authority for them to decide whether they want to carry on or not to carry on with the project. This understanding is important because a lot of people think that if the report is true, then it's not going to be having any impact towards the environment. It's not like that. It may still be having impact towards the environment. The Department of Environment function is just to ensure that the report is rightly written and the content is valid. It doesn't mean that if the report is approved, then it won't have any impact towards the environment. It's not like that. Okay. The second function is project initiator. these are developers like, Gamuda, Plus, Satya, and all these IJM. These are big developers in the country. So before they want to implement a project, if the project is within the 19 prescribed activities, basically prescribed activities means that adverse or big project that will be affecting the environment. So if you want to organize this project, or if you want to build a building somewhere or cut the forest, you have to write an EIA report, environmental impact assessment. And it is the responsibility of the project initiator to make the report or to provide the report. Okay? And they will be responsible for the environmental planning as well, and take all the mitigation measures, and they must comply with the EIA, all the EIA conditions of approval. Because in the report, you will say like, we're going to do this, and then sometimes the DOE will say, we're going to approve this if you change this one. And then they have to stick with the words, if they're not doing it, then they will be responsible. Okay. EIA consultant. Sometimes the project initiator, they only have the money, but they don't have the knowledge on the specific field. For instance, you want to build a bridge, Penang Bridge, but maybe they don't have the knowledge on water quality or anything like that, so they can actually employ a consultant to conduct the environmental impact assessment report for them. So sometimes the project initiator do not have the knowledge to conduct the report, so they have to pay EIA consultants to do it. So the EIA consultant is going to do it for them. Can you see the issue here already? In my opinion, I can see already there is an issue here, because they should be independent throughout his report. They should be telling the truth, but at the end of the day, who's paying them? Can you get an issue here, Elizabeth? If I pay you, will you tend to be biased towards me?
Yeah, doctor, conflict of interest.
Yes. So you can talk about these issues in here. So this is the thing. That's the reason why I want to raise this issue in this EIA, in the environmental issues subject. And okay, so this consultant must register with DOE, Department of Environment, because then DOE will then confirm whether they're actually eligible or qualified to do the report on the field that they are being asked to do it, if they have the expertise to do it. But like Elizabeth says, already we can see any conflict of interest that might happen, because they are being paid by the project initiator. Unless if they are totally independent entity, then I think, I don't know, you may suggest for this for this law to be changed or anything like that, but you can see the issue already. And review panel. So this panel is actually an ad hoc body, consists of experts and representative of stakeholder. They are appointed to assist DOE in reviewing the EIA reports. So a different review panel is formed for each detailed EIA. The EIA is actually detailed EIA, but never mind, we're going to talk about it. The review panel is not permanent. So what it says here is that the project initiator is going to pay the consultant to do the EIA report and present it to the DOE, Department of Environment. But the Department of Environment might not have the expertise to actually check the report, because they're just government staff. And sometimes the project is very specific. So in order for them to access the report, they're going to invite a review panel. So for instance, if it is about water quality, so they're going to find an external party who's expert in water quality to help them to review the report, to ensure whether the report is true or not true. Understand? Is that clear, Elizabeth?
Yes, doctor.
Thank you. I'm so happy. This is how we do it in Malaysia. And then,
What do you think they are doing, doctor?
well, supposed to be. It's good to become a lecturer because we can just give comments. We have no conflict of interest, But if you are in the agencies, then you need to be quite careful with what we say, because you are in the system. But this is what it is supposed to be. Okay, never mind.
Doctor. Thank you, doctor.
Thanks. Yeah. Who's this, by the way? I cannot see. Is it Aguila?
Aguila, doctor.
Hi, Aguila. Thanks. Yeah.
Hello, doctor.
There's someone else talking behind. I cannot hear. Is that Ravin?
Dr. Dinesh, yeah?
Oh, Dinesh. Okay, Dinesh.
Yeah, doctor.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Sorry, do you have any
Okay.
questions, Dinesh?
Yeah, Doctor. Who can be the review panel? Is it, are they from, or are they from universities or?
Yes, they can be from university, from anywhere who is expert in the field.
And
So for instance, if it is
who
like
appoint those?
DOE, Department of Environment. Yeah. Does that make sense? Because they're gonna see like if it is like, for instance, about bird, they don't have any experts. They're gonna outsource. They're gonna find experts anywhere in the world. Is that okay, Dinesh? Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dinesh. Yeah. Actually, your voice is not very clear, but I think it's okay. Yeah. Okay. So the environment agencies, they are going to assist in reviewing the EIA report. So this is important. So if you're talking about forest, for instance, so perhilitan is, what is perhilitan in English? I don't know. I really don't know. But these are the people who's taking care of the wildlife department. Okay. Yes. So if they're going to talk, if there is a project about forest, for instance, they're going to get help from the Department of Environment. The DOE, Department of Environment, is going to get help from Department of Wildlife. Or maybe if it's going to affect the tourism, they're going to ask help from the Tourism Malaysia. If it's going to affect the fish, they're going to ask help from the fisheries. So they're going to involve any other related agencies who's actually expert in that field. So these agencies are going to help the DOE to review the EIA report to know whether the EIA report is true or not true. And also the public. So this is what's important. I'm going to give you a clue. If the EIA report, if this detailed EIA report is going to involve a public consultation. So basically, every single person in Malaysia have the chance to actually comment or give input on the EIA report. So in the case of the pygmy elephant, for instance, surely before they started doing the project, they're going to do EIA report, and they're going to give chance for anyone else in the entire world to actually comment on the report and give the idea. So the question now is that, can you actually make a comment after the EIA report is being approved? If I were the project initiator, the first question I ask is like, why did you not suggest it to me when we give you a chance to comment on the EIA report? Why are you waiting until it is approved and before we start to actually give comments? So be careful. Did you see the issue here? Can you see the issue, Elizabeth?
Yeah, doctor.
Okay. I'm glad if I hope you guys understand what I mean, but it's okay. You can ask after this, okay? So basically, during the process of preparing the EIA, especially if it's the detailed EIA, everybody has a chance to give comments. There is a say in Malay, they say like, you cannot, rumah sudah siap, pahat baru berbunyi. It means that we have completed the house, and then now you comment about the design or anything else. It's basically says that, why don't you give your comments at earlier stage when we can make changes? Why are you doing it after everything is completed? So that's the issue. So be careful, even with the public out. There is you're gonna have Penang South reclamation issues, which we're gonna invite Puan Kusalma, I think maybe next month, and then we're still in the process of reviewing the EIA report, and maybe she can talk about that. It's actually very nice. And the approving authorities, these are actually the government, like the Wildlife Department, the Forestry Department, the Ministry of Housing. They are the state government. They are actually the one who's actually going to make the decisions whether to approve the project or not, based on the EIA report that they have. So they're going to consider environmental issues, the cost and benefit, like the bridge is going to be useful for transportation, but what will be the impact towards the environment? So they are the one who's going to decide. So remember, this EIA report is actually very important for them to decide on whether they're going to carry on or they're going to stop. So I'm going to start with these questions. I don't know. I forgot to make a link on this, but we're going to start. If anybody wants to answer this question, I'll be very happy based on what we already talked. If not, I'm going to answer it myself, but I'm going to be very happy if any of you can answer. Question number 1. is the Department of Environment and approving authority of a project? Can
No.
anybody answer it? Yes.
No,
Who's that? Who's
Agila.
that?
Agila.
Agila. Thank you, Agila. Nice one. Who is the approving authority? Do you think you can answer? Dinesh, don't do chatting. I cannot read chatting. I'd rather if you say. Okay, Agila. Oh, but they cannot hear you anyway. The voice is very, very slow. Anybody wants to say? Okay. Sambo?
Just evaluate the project, doctor, but no approve.
Yes. So basically, DOE is just looking at the report. They have no power to approve the project. Who has the power to approve a project?
Authority.
The approving authority, doctor.
Yes, the approving authority like the state government. Good one. So what is the function of the DOE?
Evaluating the project.
Sorry? Sorry, Sami?
Evaluating the project.
In a way, but to be precise, can anybody help?
The DOE, doctor, administers the EIA process.
Yes, you're right, Sambo. It administers the EIA process and finally to approve or not to approve the EIA report, not the project.
Okay.
Yes, to confirm that what is written in the EIA is actually right or not right. That's their function. Then they will present the report to the approving authority to see whether it's actually can be proceed or not. Okay. The third question, can a project be approved without approved EIA report?
No, doctor.
No. And what will happen if you carry on? Okay, so the answer is no. The answer is there is only 19 prescribed activities that needs EIA report. I'm looking at time. Okay, I hope you learned. I'm actually going so far behind time. I'm talking too much, but never mind. So the answer is there are 19 prescribed activities which we're going to discuss after this. And if you do a project without the approved EIA report, we have this law before. You're going to have problem because this is the law, this one. You're going to be penalized under this law if you approve a project without EIA report, if it is the 19 prescribed activities. So it is required under section 34A EQN 1974. So if you do it without, you're going to have problem. Okay, you're going to be penalized. So again, I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to go back to the slides, you know. Where is the slides? Yeah. The next question, can a project be continued if there is a major impact towards the environment? Laterally speaking, can it be continued?
Can.
Sorry, who's that? Dinesh?
Can.
Yes. Yes, Dinesh. It's very, very true. It's basically true. The answer is yes. Even if the EIA report said it's going to kill all the pygmy elephant, and then the DOE confirmed, yes, the report is true, and then they're going to present it to the approving authority, and then if the approving authority say yes, but we don't care about the elephant because we need the breeds, basically it can. That's according to the law in Malaysia. This concept is very important to understand, yeah, because you might do mistakes, you know, when you hear newspaper cutting. So what can be done? What can the DOE done if a prescribed activity commences without EIA report? So prescribed activities, the 19 prescribed activities need EIA report. If anybody do it without, what will happen? What can DOE do?
Cannot do anything.
Cannot do anything, Tahir? Is it against the law to do a project without?
Yes, the government first step fines applied to the project for some time, and then can stop the project.
Yes. Oh, your detail. That's very good, Tahir. Yeah. So we have section 34B EQN 1974 that requires EIA report for a prescribed activity. So if you don't do it, the DOE can actually sue you according to this law. Is that okay? Okay. Never mind.
Okay, doctor.
Okay. Okay. So the last question: if the EIA report is approved by DOE, can the project always carry on? Or can it still be stopped by the approving authority if they disagree with it? Do you understand the question, by the way? Okay, we have a EIA report about this project, and then is that means that the project can always be carry on, or can it still be stopped by the approving authority if the EIA report is approved?
It can be stopped by approval authority.
You're right. Is that Dinesh? Yes, true, Dinesh. So even if the EIA report is approved, the approving authority can still decide, like, okay, it's true, but then it's going to kill the elephant, so I don't want that project. So they can still decide not to carry on with the project, even if the EIA report has been approved by the DOE. So this is very important. But I'm glad, I think now you all understand the basic concept. We have 15 minutes. Is our lecture going to stop at 1 o'clock? Okay, I'm going to go fast. I hope you learned something. Is it very boring?
No, very interesting, Doctor.
Oh, very... Okay, never mind, I'm talking too much. Okay, let's carry on. Okay. So does all activities require EIA like this? If not, do you think all activities require EIA? If I'm gonna like plant make a small garden behind my house, do I need EIA report?
No, in some cases we don't need it.
Yes, Elizabeth. Sorry, Elizabeth, did you say something?
Only the prescribed activity.
Exactly. So we have 19 prescribed activities that require EIA. So activities subject to EIA prescribed under environmental quality, prescribed activities, environmental impact assessment order 1987. There are only 19 that requires prescribed activities. But I'm not going to ask you in the exam which one is prescribed activities, because there is no point memorizing. Now Mr. Google is going to remember better than us. But I'm just going to list down. So basically what it means is that the 19 categories of project is actually the project which has big impact towards the environment. And this is the kind of things that we have in our list. But there might be more, you know, there might be somebody who's like trying to make hydrogen bomb. It's not going to be in the list because we've never done it before. All right. So these are the 19. Agriculture, airport, drainage and irrigation, land reclamation, fisheries, forestry, housing industry, infrastructure, ports, mining, petroleum, blah, 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 until the end. But of course, it's not going to be, there will be more detail. You can, for detail, you can refer to environmental impact assessment order 1987 in your EQA law book. You know, they will tell you like how big is the size, because sometimes, you know, like, for instance, like if you want to do logging, it has to be exceeding, I think, 500 hectare. If it's a small one, you do not need to do it. Of course, there is issues, you know, if you want to do agriculture, you need EIA for 500 hectare. So if I don't want EIA report, what can I do? Okay, I'm just going to ask you questions. Okay, say for instance, for agriculture, you only need EIA report for a big project exceeding 500 hectare. If it's less than that, you don't need EIA. If you still want to do your palm oil, Elizabeth, what will you do? If you don't want EIA report, what can you do?
Prepare an environmental management plan, yeah, Doctor.
You're very nice. No, you're not cheeky. I am cheeky. What if I apply for two projects? One project is 300 hectare, the other one is 200. Do you think I need EIA?
No.
But things like that is happening. You know, this is what I'm going to talk about. Even the load issues. There's so many issues in our Environmental Quality Act. You know, this happens. This happens. Like we have standard A and standard V for. Yes, of course. There's so many. You have to figure it out. But, Dinesh, there is a method for the DOE to avoid these issues, which we're going to talk later on. It's fine. But developer makes so many techniques. So that's why, we're going to have like development on stages, you know. So we're going to have housing development on stages by stages. We're going to apply for 100 hectare and 200 hectare next and 300 hectare next. and to 400 hectare next, and never exceed 500 hectare. At the end, the whole housing area is completed and it is like 2,000 hectare. Never need any EIA report because they're very clever.
No wonder when they do development, they start with phase 1 and then phase 2.
I didn't want to tell you this, you know, that you have to check. But
We shouldn't record it, doctor.
no, no, it's okay because this is education. We don't mention any names, you know, so don't worry about this. But there is ways to avoid this. This is why we talk about environmental issues. We are going to learn on how to avoid that. So if you don't,
Doctor, excuse me. Just now
Yes,
you
Dinesh.
mentioned the prescribed activity is 19, right?
Yes.
But when I open this EQA, the latest version, I think 2019, the schedule says 21 activities. So is it which one we should refer?
Which one do you? Okay, I'm
2015.
going to ask you.
Huh?
Which one do you think is right? I know which one is right, but I just want to ask you first.
Not sure. This is
Okay. Yeah, so Dinesh, thank you so much for correcting me. Yeah, basically, Dinesh, you're right, because you know the laws in Malaysia, you have act and regulations. You know, the act is from 1974, but this is human law. They're gonna put things inside. You know, so whatever is the latest version, if yours is 2019, so yours is right, because mine, I think I made this lecture a few years ago, so
Oh,
yeah, was
okay,
before. So thank you so much for correcting me, and I'm gonna include the other two because I don't have the newest book. Yeah, so it's 21. But remember, that's why I said I don't like to intervene with human things, you know, because with science, 1 + 1 is equal to 2 always. But with human, you know, this policy, this law, it used to be 19, now it's 21. And tomorrow it's going to be like 32. So that's why I don't like them. I like science. 1 + 1 is always equal to 2 forever.
okay.
Thank you for pointing out. I don't have the newest book. I'm going to buy it, the newest law and regulations. So this fine, they might change it also. If you look at even, you know, in Malaysia, if you don't wear a mask, I think last time you're not going to be fined, and then it's 1,000, now it's 10,000. So things are changing. This is just a guidelines for you, but at the end of the day, the real fact, what I'm wanting to learn is the concept, you know, but the real value, the real number, you have to refer to the latest one. It's always changing. And thank you for pointing out, Dinesh. So it's 21. I'm going to add the other two, which I don't know yet. Okay, thanks. Is that clear, everyone else? I'm actually, you know what? I'm so happy when somebody's correcting me because I think like my students are now like getting better and better. So it's nice. It's nice so that I know that when I die, you guys are cleverer than me and the country is going to progress because the younger generation is cleverer than the older one. If you just get knowledge from me, you're going to shrink, you know. So it's better to expand. Thank you, Aguila. Okay. Okay, so this is the law. If you still do it, the 21 prescribed activities without EIA report, you're going to be fined 1,000, 100,000 or 5 years. And then again for every day if you continue it. But they might change this, you know. So thank you so much, Dinesh. Okay, so there are 3 types of EIA. So basically preliminary, detailed, and administrative or volunteer. So this is the way where the DOE can actually solve the stages development. Let's talk about preliminary. So technically, preliminary EIA is applied to all prescribed activities except for those who are subjected to detailed EIA. So the way I look at it is that if the project is not going to give adverse or big impact towards the environment, then just do preliminary EIA. But if the project is going to give big impact, then do detailed EIA. That's basically the difference. So preliminary involved, okay, so detailed EIA is required for projects that deemed to have major impact on the environment, such as iron and steel, pulp and paper, cement, construction of coal-fired power plants, construction of dams, land reclamation, incineration, and construction of multiple solid waste landfills. So basically, these are projects that is going to give big concern towards the environment or towards the people. So you need a detailed EIA. So these are examples. Yeah, I don't expect you to remember this. This is just the list. All right. Okay. Remember, the Director of Journal of the Ministry of the Environment may require detailed EIA process if she thinks she has reasons to believe the proposed project has the major and significant environmental impact and of its public interest. Remember, so there is a clause saying that although you are not included into the detailed EIA, but the Director of Journal of the Department of Environment, Department of Environment actually has the say if he wants you to do the EIA report. Okay. So there is also another thing called voluntary EIA. So basically what it means is that some companies, they're actually very nice. You know, they do a project, but the project is not within the 21 prescribed activities, but they still want to do the EIA report because they're concerned about the environment. But remember, if they want to do the EIA report, it's going to be extra job for the Department of Environment. So they can still do it. They can tell the Department of Environment that I'm a volunteer, want to do this, and the Department of Environment can actually allow them to do it. And it will be treated as preliminary EIA, environmental impact assessment. But this is the point. There is also administrative EIA, which due to the request of the government agencies such as the local authorities, you still need to do the EIA report, even though it is not within the 19 prescribed activities. So look, where can this go? You know, the stages process. So what happened if you are the local authority and people are doing development within stages like 200 and 300 and 400 and 400 and 400 and never exceed 500? So that means legally they don't have to do EIA report. But can you then tell them to do EIA report technically? Can anybody answer this?
If there is a public complaint?
Yes, because of, you're right. Is that Dinesh? Yes, because the DOE can ask them to do administrative EIA. So technically they can, which is not within the 21 prescribed activities. But the DOE can say like, okay, we still need that because you have done like 200. And then if you do another 300, it's going to be 600. It's actually exceeding the 500. So can you do administrative EIA? So it can be done like that. All right. I hope you get some issues here. Okay. Okay, question. Oh, I already asked these questions before. It's okay. You already know the answer, yeah? Sometimes I think too forward, you know. So Dinesh already has answered this. So the answer is yes, under administrative EIA. So this is the key task of EIA. First, you need to screen, scope, statement of need, evaluating project options, baseline survey, identifying sensitive receptors, identify environmentally sensitive areas, impact identification and analysis, public participation, mitigation of environmental impacts, economic evaluation, never mind. Okay, so these are the lists that you need to do. Okay, let's see. This is actually making things simple. I sketched this myself actually because I wanted to make it so easy. So first, the project initiator you see here, they're gonna screen it first, and they're gonna decide whether it's actually prescribed activity or not. If it is not, then they can just say no, we're not going to do the EIA report. And then, if it is yes, and then they're gonna look whether it's preliminary or detail. If it is preliminary, they're going to make the report and submit to DOE. And DOE is going to review it, and then they can accept and approve it. Or they can actually not accept it, and additional information is needed. So you add the additional information and review again, and whether it's approved or rejected. But they can also say, no, it's rejected. So you have to do a new one. Okay, so this is the procedure. This is for preliminary, but this is for detail. Detail, the first you start with screening to see whether it's prescribed activity. No, then you don't have to do EIA. Yes, then you decide whether it's detail or preliminary. If it's preliminary, you go to the previous slides. But if it is detail, then you have to scope. Scope is actually, you decide. For instance, if you want to make a Penang Bridge, you're going to scope which field that you need to study. You're not going to study at all. For instance, if you do Penang, the bridges in Penang, are you going to study the impact towards fish in Indonesia? Of course not, because it's far. But are you going to study towards impact on fish at the surrounding area? The answer is yes. That's what scoping is. So scoping is for them to decide what to study and what is not relevant and no need to study. And after the scoping, you come with term of reference. You're going to tell the DOE, Department of Environment, this is the kind of field, the kind of area that we're going to study. And then DOE will endorse the term of reference and then prepare the final report. And then they're going to distribute to the public, and the public can comment. This is the time that the public can comment, and there can be like an additional ad hoc technical committee to review it, and then you decide whether to accept or reject it. You can actually accept it and it's fine, or you can reject and say, no, we need additional information, and you add the additional information, and then you said, no, it's rejected, or you can accept it. All right, can you see this? Is this clear, this diagram? Actually, if you study, it's very simple. All right, so that's the procedure. So remember, there is comments from the public participation, that you can actually give comments. So this is, in a way, is also protecting the developer and the DOE from people who actually give comments after the report is being approved, because they have the chance to give comments before the report is being approved. Then they should exercise their rights right before, not after. Okay, so this is the process of screening, which I already said just now. There was the diagram, you can refer. So screening involves the decisions on, can we continue with the lecture? Do you mind? Because it's already 1 o'clock, but I haven't finished the lecture yet. Is it okay if I continue? Are you going to be angry? Can we go for another half an hour? Is that okay? Or do you have plans?
Okay, doctor.
Okay, thank you.
Can, doctor,
Thank you.
can.
Okay, I have two okay, so I'm happy. I worry that you might complain. Okay. So I'm going to try to be quick. So screening is for you to decide whether it's prescribed activities, and then you're going to decide whether it's required. Thank you, Aisha. Require EIA, and then you're going to decide whether it's preliminary or detailed. If you look at the diagram, it's quite simple. And then you're going to scope it, and you're going to identify significant issues which is relevant. So if it is a bridge, maybe you can look at water quality, but maybe there is no need to look at bird diversity because it's not relevant. Maybe there is, if it is a bridge in Penang, maybe you can do water quality of the nearby area only, but there is no need to look at the effect on water quality in Kuala Lumpur because it's not relevant at all. So this scoping resulting in terms of reference, which they're going to present to the DOE, and they say, like, we're going to study this parameter at this area only because this is relevant, but others is not. Okay. So the scoping identifies the time, the boundaries, the stakeholders, the information which is needed for decision making, the significant impact. And it's also set requirements for the collection of the baseline and other information. I guess as long as you understand the concept, it's fine. Because I think this lecture is quite, you can read it by yourself. So the term of reference should be a flexible document, and it's only required for detailed EIA. And if you have it for preliminary, it's only for internal use. Statement of needs. This is very important, you know. If you start with your EIA report, basically you're going to tell, like, we need to build this bridge because it's going to reduce congestion of the road, or we need to build this building, or like we need to build this school because it's needed. You need to highlight in the beginning of your EIA report. You have to tell the people or the DOE like why the project is important. So this is important, and never say like, oh, we're gonna do this project because we're gonna get a lot of money, which in most cases is the real reason, but you don't say that. You say that, okay, we're gonna provide accommodations for the people. Yeah, things like that. That will be in the statement of needs of the first part of your EIA report. For example, we're gonna put we're gonna plant some palm oil to actually, you know, feed people and things like that. And we're gonna make resort because this is in line with our tourism industry, blah, blah, blah. Okay, focus on the K of the project, not your benefit. So like this one, of course, it was being attacked severely because they said the claim island is to go private. Of course, people are not gonna be very happy with this, because why do we want to make a private entity gaining so much money, things like that. So never do this kind of statement of needs. Never mind, I'm not gonna do this, we don't have time, but never mind. Maybe next time when we are free, we can ask questions. Yeah, we can repeat. So project options in the EIA report, you must put an option, you know, like, okay, for instance, like if you put the bridge in this area, it's going to affect the pygmy elephant, but if you put it 1 kilometer to the south, there is no elephant there, then it's going to be safe for the elephant. So that's an example of evaluation of options in your EIA report. Sometimes there is no option, sometimes it's site option, sometimes it's technology option, sometimes it's the method, sometimes the layouts or alignment. Sometimes there is a big tree here, you can just go straight and cut the tree, or you can make turning. So those are options that you can put into your EIA report. And when you get the data, you can use primary or secondary data. You can go like and take water quality report, or you can take data from previous one, but never take very old data or data which is not reliable. So it's always important to take the secondary data from a reliable sources. Like in Malaysia, accredited lab is important. You cannot just take any secondary data from someone who's not expert in that field. And the impact, the extent of your data, it has to be in line with the possible impact. So like, for instance, if the impact on birds is going to be lasting for like 20 years from now, so maybe you want to see longer data, not just from yesterday, but not even, maybe there is no need to get data from 1574 because that was 100 years ago and it's not going to be relevant anymore. So the data that you are collecting has to be relevant to the extent impact of the project. So these are the common problem. You can look at this. And of course, sensitive receptors has to be taken into account. So like this is, for instance, if it is next to a river, then what is likely to be the sensitive receptors? It will be the river. So maybe then you need to identify the impact towards the river. And environmental sensitive area. In Malaysia, you have some areas which is gazetted to be environmentally sensitive, like within, anything within 5 kilometer radius of the area has to be taken into account. And sometimes there is like a virgin forest, or there is like protected species over there, you have to take care of that. Like for instance, if it involves orangutan, then it is environmentally sensitive area because orangutan is protected. And this one is like, sometimes it's also like our history. This is Lembah Bujang in Candi in Kedah. So if it has like, you know, Candi Borobudur or Prambanan, you're not gonna like do any project next to it because you want to protect the heritage. So this has to be identified in your EIA report. For instance, like all types of forest, like this one, highlight wetland reserves, water catchment areas, areas with science beauty, geohazard, floodplains, and historical and archaeological sites. So you have to take all these are important to take into account in your EIA report. For example, these are the mangrove area in Penang, which need protection. So if you want to see sensitive areas, you can refer to local plan, structure plan, national physical plan, and sensitive area in Malaysia 1993. So these are among the documents that you need to get, but it's okay. Never mind. And then you're gonna look, you're gonna identify the impact, and you're gonna list down what will be the impact and explain in detail in your EIA report. For instance, if it is a landfill, the impact is going to be like, it's going to make sound, it's going to produce smell, and the people has to know about that. So again, like we said just now, the public has the chance to actually participate in the preparation before the final is being submitted, so you can complain if you want. Which is just going to skim through, try to go fast. You can read this by yourself afterwards, yeah, because you have access to the slides, yeah. When you do public participation, sometimes they can gather for a meeting, sometimes you can write email, sometimes it can be a WebEx meeting, many other ways. But of course, there are many issues about public participations. For instance, like fishermen, they will never have, if you do public participation online, for instance, fishermen is not going to have any computer, they will not be able to attend, so things like this. Sometimes they don't even have time to go because they go out for fishing, otherwise they have nothing to eat. So read about this afterwards. Yeah, this slide is actually quite comprehensive. Never mind, I'm going to... And then you can suggest mitigation, you know, like, for instance, like just now we said, like, if maybe you can build a big bridge. If a big bridge is going to be affecting the environment adversely, maybe you can make a smaller bridge, maybe 2 smaller bridges instead of 1 big bridge, something like that. So that will be mitigation. It will be specific for effect. Economic evaluation, environmental impact, what will be the impact towards the environment and also the economy of the people. It has to be taken into account. And you have to formulate a mitigation program, like what is going to be the plan? Like if this happens, so what will be the plan? Okay, never mind. Okay, let's just read this one, yeah. So EIA is likely to be, okay. So, so residual environment impact concerns remain significant even after the application of the mitigation measures. This is so important, you know. Sometimes you take mitigation, but still you will kill 1 or 2 pygmy elephants. So this is important because in the EIA report, you're gonna produce mitigation, but you cannot avoid all impacts at all costs. So it can be long term. It's, for example, also human health, it's going to be affecting, and it's going to be a long term. And decline of water table, so contamination of groundwater, this all has to be taken into account. Okay, so if the residual impact is not acceptable, likely the report is going to be rejected. Okay, sometimes residual impact can only be concluded after the completion of the project. So never mind, you can read after this. So these are examples of EIA report you can download and you can click them, you will be able to see them. So back to the same questions that we asked just now. I think by now you are able to answer the questions, but maybe I will ask you, in my next lecture. But yeah. So I basically asked you the same question again, and I want you to answer after this class of, I want to see if your answer is going to be the same or it's going to be different, but we don't have time. And another question, what is environmental management plan, EMP? I think Elizabeth did mention about this, which I'm so happy because some of you is very advanced. You already know EMP. And this is EMP, you can read after this. And what's the difference between EIA and EMP? I want you to all to know this. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, we can stop. So no questions, yeah?
No,
Okay. I think we can stop now. You can, oh, thank you so much. I always disappear. I don't know who said, I just said thank you. I just can see, thank you. Yeah. So sorry, I was going very quickly. And also my throat is very painful, but you can read the notes. If you have any question, you can always, okay, Sambo, thank you. Thank you.
Sure, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, thank you everyone. You can always read the notes, and if you have any issues, you can ask me. You can ask me in the next lecture. Even we are going to have a discussion actually from 4 to 5 today. So we can use that slot a bit. I can repeat a bit of the lecture and we can use it. But today at 2:30 will be Dr. Fazia's class. Okay. So can we stop the lecture for now?
Yes, Doctor, hungry.
Yes.
Okay, doctor.
Me too, very hungry. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm so happy with big attendance for today. And I'll see you later at 2:30, which I'll be a participant just like you all. Thank you so much and have a nice lunch for now. See you at 2:30. Thanks, everyone.
See you, Doctor.
Bye, everyone.